The last time we spoke, I asked about my husband, who seems like the more in alignment I was getting, the more angry he was getting. And you said,
well, we just want to stick this in because it's funny. When you're living something that others want, sometimes it just amplifies to them that they're not living it, and it makes them ornery. It's sort of like anyone who's living something that you want. Don't you know that feeling of jealousy or that feeling of inadequacy that you feel when someone's just prancing around with something you want, and you look at him, you think, really? You've got it and I don't? Do you know how much I want that? First of all, give everybody a break until they get their bearings. All right,
so you said to me, don't worry, he'll catch up. You won't have to go anywhere. You two have a collective vortex. Your inner being knows who this man is.
Oh, we shouldn't have said that to you. Because now you're going to point out how that doesn't seem right.
Well, but right after that...
We never tell you anything that isn't true.
It felt so good and so true, but right after that, what happened was a lot of really extreme...
You didn't tell him we said that, did you?
No. Yeah. A lot of contrast happened for him, and he kind of broke through a lot of stuff, and he had like a really dark night of the soul kind of thing. But then I met another person who I had like an explosive connection to, and he feels like everything in my vortex. But then my husband is having like coming into his awareness, and he told me, well, I've been with other women our whole marriage, like for the last 10 years. So I guess I was confused. I was stuck on when you said you don't have to go anywhere, you have a collective vortex.
Why'd you go? We didn't say there's not other places to go. We said you can find what you want where you are. There's no right or wrong in this, but it's a little bit like, we're just going to tease you a little bit because we really want you to hear this. It's like deciding that you want to have children, and you really want children, and you're really eager about it. Can't wait to play with them and feed them and take them trick-or-treating. That's what one wanting to be pregnant woman said to us. She couldn't wait for them. We know it's weird, but that's what she said. So you get pregnant, and you're so eager, and then you're walking down the street, and there's a lady not watching her baby carriage. There's a baby in there. So you just say, why wait? Now, you have a perfectly well-developing, just what you've always wanted, baby in gestation, but you're impatient. So you just, no analogy's perfect, just go with it.
But now I'm kind of confused because I feel like it's weird, I don't really take what he's done personally, and I have love for him because I feel like we kind of helped each other wake up, but then like it just so happened that another path came to me, and it just feels like I have to go there. So it's interesting. I'm like a little bit conflicted about...
Really?
Yeah.
Here's something that we always encourage. Make sure you're calibrated before you move. Were you calibrated before you moved? What influence do you feel you were under when you were swept to this other person? That's the question. That's the question that you want to ask yourself. If I had been sitting and writing my segment intending, what was I feeling when that unfolded? And you can say what you want it to be, but as you're in the process of exploring this other, we promise you that it was a very mixed bag. And so in either case, you got vibrations going all over the place, and you're not really accurately calibrating to your source in either scenario. But what is certain is that this new relationship feels like the path of least resistance because you don't know anything about that one. You know too much about the other. But you've put so much in your vortex based upon what the two of you have been doing all this time. So you've got this wonderful thing that is gestating. when we say take the path of least resistance, we really do mean it. But if you've taken the time to calibrate to who you really are before you start trying to decide what the path of least resistance is, sometimes the path of least resistance is just somebody who's not yelling at me right now, or sometimes the path of least resistance is just someone who feels good when they wake up in the morning. There's lots of scenarios about what the path of least resistance could feel like, but what the path of least resistance really is being tuned to the wholeness of all that you've created. In other words, not looking to the manifestation. This is what happens. So the two of you create together, and you put things into your vortex, and then they are in the process of becoming. But then you're taking score too soon, because as the thoughts are turning to things, there's lots of things in the vortex that are in the process of turning to things. But there are also lots of things in real life experience that have already turned to things, and lots of them you don't like so much. So you're looking at those manifestations, and you're letting the manifestations that don't please you have a higher rating or a higher importance factor than you are tuning to what's over here, because you're not really tuned to what's over here. You're still doing what almost everybody does. You're wanting it to be a manifestation, like the food in the buffet, where you can go, that or that. And those manifestations, there's so much vibrational stuff going on before it's that cut and dried. So what we would ask you to try to evaluate just for a little while before you take a big leap somewhere, evaluate both situations from the vibrational standpoint. Ask yourself how it's feeling. Try to calibrate to who you really are. We like saying this so much. We've not said this before. We've not had a situation where we could say this before with this clear way of saying it. You're all really going to like this. So there's this existing relationship. Let's call it existing. Been going on for how long?
10 years.
And then there's this new relationship. Been going on for how long?
3 months.
Let's call the 10-year relationship a manifestation. Seems logical. And let's call the other one something in the process of becoming. Seems what most people would do. Yes? This one is manifested. It's signed, sealed, delivered. It's a done deal. It is what it is. And then here's this new one. We would like you to understand both of them are equally still in the ethers, in the state of becoming. But you can't taste or sniff out the ethers because you're so busy looking at manifestations. And what almost always happens when someone jumps to the new is they get a ways down the road, and the new one is just like the old one, because they didn't do any recalibrating. They just moved away from the parts they didn't want, which means they moved physically away from them, which means they kept them active, and then they were just factored in what was unfolding. And so when the new manifestation comes, different places, different faces, just the same experience over and over again. This is time for recalibration. This is time for remembering who you really are. This is time for remembering all the things that this 10-year relationship, we're not guiding you to that. We're just wanting you to benefit from what that 10-year relationship put in the vortex, and we want you to calibrate to the vortex version of that 10-year relationship. If you can calibrate to the vortex version of that 10-year relationship, then it could come to you from 1,000 places, and it could come fast. It's extra delicious, however, when the relationship that gave birth to the vortex is the relationship that is where you are receiving it. Doesn't have to be that way. Most people don't let it be, because most people aren't disciplined enough to see new every day. They see the same old every day. This is really good.
Yeah.
And we know we didn't really answer your question in a way that you wanted us to, but we gave you the best relationship understanding that we've ever offered, ever.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.